Hey everybody, welcome back to Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suntress here, still on the road at Salt Lake City Comic-Con. I'm here throughout the weekend. If you are going to Salt Lake City Comic-Con, please look up my table and say hello. I wish I had a table number to give you right now, but I haven't gone to the con yet and gotten my number assignment. They gave me a table last minute because they knew I had copies of No Plan B, The Art of Michael Avon Oeming, that I wanted to share with people, a book that I'm very proud to have co-authored with Mike, and it's a wonderful look at Mike's career. We do a great autobiographical interview and talk about a lot of his wonderful projects, his great collaborations with good friends like David Mack and Brian Bendis. They do the forward and the afterward in the book. His lovely wife, Taki Soma. So many great people that he's worked with over the years. The projects that didn't make it, books like Warren Ellis. He and Warren Ellis were going to do something. His collaborations with Mike Mignola. So many wonderful, amazing people. Adam Hughes. Who knew Adam Hughes was such an important part of giving us The Art of Mike Oeming? But very early in his career, well before Powers, well before any of his big stuff, Adam Hughes was the guy that kind of helped Mike get started in his comic book career. The story is in No Plan B, The Art of Michael Avon Oeming. It's on sale now from Dark Horse, and if you're at the Salt Lake City Comic-Con, I've got a few copies that I've got at a great price. I don't mean to hawk, but here I am hawking my wares, and I'm very excited to share that with you, and I'm very proud of the book. So please support the book. And I think you're going to find a really interesting story because Mike's story of what he had to go through to get to his comic book career is pretty inspirational. And I'm very pleased to help him bring that story to light in No Plan B, The Art of Michael Avon Oeming from Dark Horse. Today, right now, we're talking with Chip Zdarsky. I love this guy. I've loved this guy ever since Matt Fraction introduced me to him, and I really got to know him over the last couple of years. On an acquaintance level, but Chip's terrific. He's such a good guy, and I'm really excited for all of his success, not only on his creator-owned books, like Sex Criminals, which certainly is among the topics we're going to be talking about today, but also his wonderful work at Archie with Jughead. We get into that. We get into his semi-controversial but welcomed take on Jughead, and deciding that Jughead is an asexual person, and the wonderful feedback that Chip has gotten for that. Also, we talk about his great Marvel work. It's a good Marvel legacy conversation because, not only is he doing amazing work on Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, but it's already been announced that Chip is going to be doing the return of Marvel 2-in-1, featuring The Thing and the Human Torch, and their search for the other half of the Fantastic Four. I think that's going to be really neat, and certainly Victor Von Doom is going to figure into that. And just like our other interview with Greg Pak that I just released today, this is a great chance to really have some great nerd conversations with Chip about the Marvel Universe and his participation in it. He's also part of the Harley Quinn anniversary issue that came out last week or 2 weeks ago. He and Joe Quinones, his old Howard the Duck collaborator, did a very cute 8-page story about the Joker and Harley that I think is fantastic. And it's just a good chance to get inside Chip's head. Chip's always very candid with me, and I appreciate that. He's a deep thinker and a very funny guy, so it's great to have him on today's Word Balloon. It's brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you, League, for your support. I'm here in Salt Lake City, and being able to, go on a couple other conventions this year, like New York coming up in 2 weeks, because of your help. So thank you very much. If you want to subscribe to Word Balloon, you can do that through Patreon. If you go to the front page of wordballoon.com, you can click on the Patreon ad, and that will take you directly to my Patreon page. Or you can go to patreon.com/wordballoon. Is Word Balloon worth the price of a comic book each month? I kind of think it is. I think, I give you hours of great conversation and great insight in what's going on in these creators' heads. And I've got some more great stuff coming up in September and October. An embarrassment of riches in terms of the conversations coming your way here at Word Balloon. Word Balloon's free. It'll always be free. But if you want to help the cause and think you can, go to patreon.com/wordballoon. Thank you very much, League of Word Balloon listeners. Word Balloon is also brought to you by In Stock Trades at instocktrades.com, where you can get collections like Volume 4 of Jason Aaron's wonderful run on Doctor Strange. This is Mr. Misery. This collects Doctor Strange 17 through 20, and the annual. Irving Frazier is among the artists, as well as Chris Pachalo and Kevin Nolan. This book is 42% off, $14.49. You can get Moon Knight, Volume 3, Jeff Lemire and Greg Smallwood and Jordi Belair. Holy cow. You know, I'm so happy for Greg Smallwood. We haven't had him on the podcast yet, but he's a hell of an artist. And, of course, Jeff just kicking ass on everything he touches. And I really do think it's amazing what he's able to bring to mainstream comics, and also what he does with his creator-owned books as well. And this is a classic example of this. Volume 3 of Moon Knight, Birth and Death, 112 pages, 42% off. It's $9.27. You can also get, we talked to him earlier this week, Declan Shalvey. I can't praise Savage Town, his excellent book with Philip Barrett, enough. It's so great. And Phil's got an amazing indie style. This is a classic Irish crime comic in the same light as movies like The General and The Boxer and Veronica Guerin. If you like Irish crime, you are going to love Savage Town. You know, if you like street crime, you're going to love Savage Town. It's a great book, 144 pages from Image, and I'm really excited that In Stock Trades is not only promoting it, but giving it to you at a great price, 42% off, $9.85 from InStockTrades.com. Check it out now. Go there. You'll find great books at great prices. And don't forget, if your orders are $50 or more, you receive free shipping from InStockTrades.com. All right, it's time to talk sex criminals with the wonderful artist Chip Zdarsky. We also get into a lot of his Marvel work and his Archie work, and it's a lot of fun as far as conversations go. Here's Chip Zdarsky now on Word Balloon.
All right, I usually do more of a warm-up, but this guy, you know, he comes to play. It's Chip Zdarsky, everybody. And it's welcome back, bud, to Word Balloon. I'm really glad to have you back.
I come to play and I play to come.
Appropriate for Volume 4 of Sex Criminals coming out later this month. 2 weeks away, I believe.
Yeah.
Is it, or is, yeah, that's right. It's not this coming Wednesday, it's the following Wednesday.
Wednesday after, yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Really sneaks up on you when you put out one a year.
You know, honestly, I wanted to ask, because, you guys are busy and everything.
Yeah.
But the funny is still there, and the following seems to still be there. Tell me, really, has this impacted sales in any way, or are the Legion still following, dick in hand?
Yeah, I mean, we'll kind of find out with this volume, I suppose. The plan was basically to get all the issues done for this arc before we solicited them,
Okay.
Just because, it takes us a while to do the book. It takes me, around 2 months to draw, color, letter an issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what we both found with this arc was the delay hurt us in terms of just kind of like the mojo of producing the book, because without a book coming out, you don't have any feedback. You're just like, you're making a thing, like, doing like 4 or 5 issues without releasing any of them is a hard thing to do. And the extra time just meant we just went over things like too much. Like,
really? Yeah,
like issue 16. Like usually with an issue, I find we have like maybe 2 or 3 drafts.
Okay.
Like kind of go-throughs once it's done to change things, some art, some dialogue and stuff before we send it to the printer. And let me just check right now. It's like issue 16, let's see here. 16, okay, there are 8 versions of issue 16.
Why? So many rewrites.
So much time. Because we looked at it, we're like, okay, we can move this around, change this. And then because I was well into 17, so then, you realize you're doing something in 17, which means you should go back and change this thing in 16. Like, it's helpful in some ways because you can kind of like look at the whole arc and figure it out. But, instead of taking 2 months an issue, it would take us 3 months an issue.
Wow. And
then there wouldn't be the impetus for Matt to deliver the script, right when I'm done an issue. Because, we have time. We're thinking about it. We're talking about it.
Sure.
And so, in some cases it'd be like 2 or 3 weeks to get a script after I'm done. So just kind of add it to the schedule. So that's why it took so long. And, with this volume, we've turned it around because Matt just like went full steam ahead. He's like, within like a month, 2 months, he wrote 4 issues.
Wow.
And so now I have them. All I'm waiting on is issue 25, and I'm done issue 21 and diving into 22 tomorrow. So, yeah, hopefully that speeds things up a bit. I know we're soliciting again for January. I kind of wanted to solicit every 2 months, but it looks like it's going to be coming out monthly again in January.
Fantastic. That's great, man. Well, I don't think we ever did talk about how you guys plot and then you draw or whatever. I mean, is that the thing? Do you guys kind of do the arc and, take us behind the scene there?
Well, it changes over time. Like when we first started doing it, before issue 1, it was tons of back and forth. Just a dozen late night phone calls, just kind of talking about sex, our sexual histories, the histories of people we know, and talking character and talking storyline, and because we didn't know what issue 1 was at that time, right? You're trying to figure it out. We solicited it as dick jokes, but as we were working on it, it became not that, or became that plus some
right.
more. So I found the first arc, we probably had more back and forth before Matt would write the script and I would do the art.
Okay.
Now it's a bit more kind of easy and casual. Sometimes Matt will give me a phone call before he starts in on the script to kind of tell me what he's thinking, and I'll give him feedback. And now it's mostly he'll just send the script, and if I have notes on that, I'll give them to him. But I don't show him artwork until we're done.
Really?
Until it's lettered and colored, I don't show him anything.
That's crazy.
I like the surprise of it for him, the same way I like being surprised with the script, because I add all the jokes and stuff. And
sure.
I think it's both of our favorite moments during the process is when the issue's done and Matt gets to see it for the first time, and I get to experience his reaction.
So no final pass. Does Matt tweak after finally seeing the art, or art is done, we're ready to go?
I mean, dialogue gets tweaked a lot after that point.
Okay.
Because Matt, the thing with writing is you write, you deliver, and then you go away from it for a while. So Matt will be a month or 2 months without even considering that issue.
Sure.
So when it shows up again, he can sometimes be surprised by what he's written and go back and change it, or see the facial expressions that I've got going on and realize, he should tweak the dialogue or get rid of the dialogue. There have been some scenes that ended up being almost plot style, where I'd he wouldn't have the dialogue quite yet for it, and he wanted to see what I would draw, and then he'd go back and dialogue it after.
Makes sense.
And it'll be once in a while there'll be an art change, which is definitely a pain in the ass, but it's caused by me by going straight to final. So it's a fully colored page, and we need to move a character here or there or change a thing. It's oh shit. Okay, all right.
Are you doing everything digitally, or how are you drawing?
Yeah. I mean, when we started the book, that was my switch to all digital. I bought the Cintiq, the display tablet, sure. And because the process before, there's so many steps, and this just eliminates all of them, which is just awesome. But yeah, I mean, it's just Matt and I really I've got a woman who does color flatting for us, who doesn't necessarily want to be named, which I found out after I was naming her in the book. I was oh, I'm such a great guy. Look at me. Matt and I are giving credit to the color flatter, and then I hear from the color flatter, she's yeah, I don't necessarily want my name in the book called Sex Criminals. I'm oh, okay, I see how it is. But besides her, and we have a friend who's the editor and does kind of the pass on it with edits, and the managing editor. It's just Matt and I on it, so which is also why it takes so long.
In this current environment, because obviously everybody knew what this was from day one, but it sometimes the comic reading readership gets a little feisty, and on both sides really. So are you guys experiencing any sort of pushback on this in any way?
On the content?
Yeah.
No. I mean, it all happened at the beginning,
right?
With the Apple ban. Like, that was the big thing.
Yes, indeed, and I remember that. That's right. Okay.
And, there will be stores that won't carry it for content, or if they do, it's like kind of order only. But like the current market, the kind of like, people upset over what's happening in individual comics. For the most part, that's kind of contained to the corporate books.
Yeah, the big two. Okay.
Because they're characters that people are invested in already.
Right, sacred cows. How dare you?
Yeah, that have gone through, dozens, if not hundreds, of creators. So that would be where the problems lie. But like with our book, if you didn't like it, you just wouldn't buy it.
Sure. But
if you don't like what's happening in Batman, but you love Batman, you'll be angry at what's happening in Batman.
Of course.
While still buying it. So, I find with sex criminals, like, you're either on board or you're not on board.
That's cool.
It's like any kind of book you'd find in a bookstore. There's not a lot of people kind of complaining about all the books in the bookstore.
But again, the readership is staying, true. Have the numbers stayed the same? Are you guys still getting new readers at this point?
I mean, we get new readers on the trades. We don't get new readers on the single issues. Like every convention we do, people are just like, "Oh, I just found out about this." I'm like, "That's amazing." But on single issues, my assumption is it goes down. And if I'm being honest, I have not looked at the numbers since issue 16.
Okay.
I know I probably should, but at some point I was just kind of like, I used to fixate on them. Like every month I'd break it down. Like people were ordering the variant covers and the regular covers, and the kind of the natural attrition and figuring out where you're losing people. But at some point I'm just like, well, I'm gonna be working on this regardless, and I'm not going to change the content at this point. So we just kind of do it. I don't know if Matt looks at the numbers. I don't think he does either.
Okay.
I think we just kind of put it out and we get a check, 3 months later, and we're like, oh, hey, okay. And you kind of know from the check, I guess, how it's doing.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm not super concerned with it. The nice thing about this book, and most of Image books really, is the shelf life is the thing on the shelf, which is the trades.
Absolutely.
So, we'll make money off the trades years beyond when the single issues are done.
But am I wrong? Have you guys collected letter pages or not? I think we talked about that when we were in Cincinnati.
Yeah, we did just the tips, which was all the sex tips plus more. But it's such a weird thing. I was talking about this the other day with a couple of comic writers, and one of them was Brubaker.
Okay.
He was talking about his books. He's like, talking about we're kind of talking about bookstore numbers and how do you increase sales in bookstores.
Right.
And I'm just like, well, your books belong in like if there's a noir section, it belongs in the noir section, or just general fiction. Like it's weird to have Ed and Sean's books
next to Archie.
Yeah, and the funny thing is the just the tips, which isn't even a comic.
Right.
It's just a collection of sex tips and doodles, sits right next to Justice League. They both start with just, which is crazy. That's so fucking bonkers.
That's awesome.
Like, in what world do those books should they be together? Like, the people who buy Justice League or are selling Justice League wouldn't want it next to our filth book, and I don't want our filth book next to Justice League. Like, it doesn't make sense. So
I understand. Honestly, and I have this conversation, and I'm glad you bring up Ed, because Criminal's a classic example of that. The back matter, I know it's what makes the individual issues, different and unique, and But there is so much good stuff in there, and it doesn't make the trades, does it, for your guys' thing?
No, I think it's a special thing for individual issues.
Yeah,
like it makes sense because it's like going issue to issue. Like there's a conversation happening in there, and if you collected that all and put it in a trade, it wouldn't feel as natural, and it would just seem really long as well.
I guess.
Yeah, because there's like 8 pages of letters in the in each issue.
Right, but I do feel bad for people that are just like reading the trades if they're like missing out. because it really is part of like the community you guys have built. And I really do love the fact that a lot of contributors are as funny as you guys are, which I'm sure delights you.
Whoa!
I'm not saying they're not making any money.
What are you saying?
You're still getting free labor from them. So there's that.
It's part of the experience of the monthly comic, I think. Like, growing up, that was my thing. I love the letters pages.
Absolutely.
And I think it suits that format better than it would suit the trade. And it would be weird, like in 20 years, somebody buying the first trade of Sex Criminals and like the back is all like letters. People were writing to that because they would have no concept of individual issues.
I suppose.
Like, could you imagine reading you pick up like a Stephen King novel, and at the back of the Stephen King novel, there's a bunch of people writing in talking about the Stephen King novel?
Well, that's true, but comics really are as much as part of the the readership community. Yeah. It's part of the experience, and I understand, and you're right, and I do think it's interesting that not just back matter from Image Books, but a lot of companies are kind of going back. I just talked to Shelley Bonded with Black Crown. She's like very adamant about, oh no, we're bringing back letters pages and everything, and again, it's community, and it was the internet before the internet in a lot of ways in terms of just building these little fan clubs and everything, and everybody being hip to the secret handshake and the jokes and everything. So
they're awesome, and like I say, it's like a continuing thing. It's a thing that like goes month to month. The collections, we do different things in the collections too. There's stuff in the collections you don't get in the single issues.
Sure. How was Rose City? I'm always, when you guys are together, and it was so great to experience this, honestly, at Cincinnati, and I was really glad that we were able to record it, and I mean, really, it really was like a happening in a way that other comic panels aren't. Yeah,
it's one of those things, like, whenever I'm at a show with Matt, and we have, like, a Sex Criminals panel, I'm always like, maybe this is it. This is where the wheels come off. Like I remember as I was walking to the room where the panel was, because I wasn't late, but I was like a couple of minutes behind, and I'm walking towards the room. I know Matt's already there on stage, and all I heard was quiet as I walked up to the door, and I'm like, oh fuck, this is it. There's gonna be like 2 people there, and I walked in, it was a full house.
Sure, it was.
Like it was packed, but they were all pretending to be quiet to chastise me for being late, because Matt told them to do that.
That's great.
So it's awesome. Like, Rose City was a lot of fun. Doing the shows with Matt is always a blast, and it's good. We're doing Columbus CXC in like next week, and I turn around and go to New York, and I turn around and I go to the Lakes Festival. So it's a little nuts.
Well, I hope to see you in New York, but when I do see you at an artist alley and stuff, mostly I see the top of your head because you're busy sketching, which is awesome because you're there for the fans. And it is. It's always either that or like hopefully like we run into each other in the hall, and we might be walking in the same direction for 5 minutes or something like that. But
no, that's the one thing about the artist alley. Like, I love it because the sketches they do are just dirt cheap and kind of fun, dumb head sketches, and so that means like I'm constantly busy. There's always people kind of waiting because I do them while the person's there. I don't like to take commissions. And it creates the illusion that I'm popular, which is also the best part. Because you have people waiting in front of you. I was like, "Ooh, who's this big shot?" No, I'm just a guy who's slowly doing sketches for people for $20.
That's awesome, man. No, and it's cool that you keep them reasonable and stuff too. So people really appreciate that. Now, I should ask, because obviously you're doing a hell of a lot of writing lately as well. And I'm thrilled, man, because it's great, and it's great to see. I mean, it was fun with Jughead, absolutely, and also as you seep into the Marvel world as well. But and a friend is like, you should ask him, and it's great because it's an outside comics. He's like, well, you should ask him, what does he like better? Does he like writing or drawing better? And I'm like, that's such a hack question, but here I am asking it.
Writing.
Okay.
Only because it's easier.
Sure.
Like, it takes so much less time. Like,
sure.
Provided you're on a bit of a roll, you can get a script in decent shape in 2-3 work days, maybe 4 work days.
Sure.
Whereas 7 weeks to draw and color an issue of Sex Criminals is like, it's a long time to sit with the same characters, drawing them over and over again. There's a repetition there that
sure.
you don't get that feeling as much when you're writing. So yeah, for sure.
Before we leave the sex criminals world, I always ask the Image guys, book people who have create their own books through Image and stuff. Is there an endpoint? Like, do you guys know where you're going as far as the story and everything? Okay.
Yeah, and an issue number.
Have you divulged said issue number or no? It's up if you don't want to, but if you want to.
we have. I know we've done it before in like interviews or in panels. So yeah, it's like 31 is kind of the number.
Oh wow, so we're close.
Yeah, we're close. So it's like, I mean, close. We're 2/3 of the way there.
Yeah.
So take another 1.5, 2 years to wrap it up. But you know how it goes.
Well, yeah, but again, I think it's honestly, man, like Planetary or some of these other special books and stuff like that. I know people are, it's worth the wait. And again, you guys do put so much in, not just the story, but the back matter and everything. So, I think people are cool with that. And also, that's great to hear because that's my question now, my stock question for all the Image guys. Like, I think it's great, and you do deserve to do several trades to keep the interest and also keep the sales going and give people a full meal of a story. But also, too, it's, sometimes it's, okay, we've been going for like 40 issues or 50 issues. It's like, is there, where are we going here with this?
Yeah, we kind of hit a point where, after the first 3 issues, the roadmap was gone. Like, because we didn't know that we'd last that long. And so
really, it was really like you thought maybe 3 issues and like, all right, nobody's digging this, goodbye.
Well, like when we were talking on the phone before issue 1 came out, and I was working on issue 2 or 3 at the time, Matt said to me, he's like, this is probably only going to last 3 issues, right? Like, just to prepare me, because, like, maybe I thought this was going to be my big break or something. And
sure.
Like, no, I get it. Like, we had so many things going against us on it. Because we solicited it as, like I said, like a dick joke book. Right. Like, the original solicitation copy was just, like, abhorrent. Like, it was just like, Matt and Chip are coming along just to fuck things up. Whoop, whoop, whoop. The book was called Sex Criminals, which turned off a ton of people, like, right off the bat. Like, I was getting messages from people like, how could I ever pick up a book called Sex Criminals? I'm like, okay, I get that too. But then when we, like, finished issue 1, we realized, oh, no, it's not like the solicitation at all. It's, like, kind of about, like, sex and sexuality and romance. But nobody who read that solicitation or saw the title would want that if they were buying it. So we were worried that the people that were going to buy it are people we weren't going to want, and the people that wouldn't buy it are the people that we would want. So we were just going to make 0 sales. So, after it took off, like, we started to have more conversations about what we can do, and we came up with an endpoint early on, like within the first arc. We kind of knew how it should end, but then we were like, well, let's just play with it and have fun until we figure out how to get there. And so I think what happened was, after the first couple of volumes, Matt is so adept at creating new characters that you love. So he just started doing that. Like, we would introduce all these new characters, and even ones that we thought would just kind of last for a little bit, we'd bring back and have romantic entanglements. And at some point I was kind of looking at it and I was like, we've got a lot of characters on the board right now. It's like the X-Men of sex. Like, you kind of have to, but you know what? You don't want to be Chris Claremont in like 1988 or whatever and like dangle all these plot threads and don't have resolutions.
Sure.
The Matt has said before that, like, I'm sure he got it from someone else, but that corporate comics are a continual second act.
Right.
And it felt like we were in the second act that was kind of continuing along that line. And so I had a talk with Matt, and I was like, we should talk about where the endpoint is. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm listening.
Okay. No. I heard a Skype bubble.
Oh, no. We're still here. All good.
Yeah, and so I was like, we need to figure out an endpoint, and Matt agreed, and we sat down and talked through some of the ideas he had, and I had some ideas, and by Heroes Con, he basically had the map all the way to the end.
Okay.
And so And so we've just been following that. Like, so we know, and we have enough time, to have like another 10, 11 issues. That gives you enough time to actually have satisfaction for all the characters.
Sure. Okay. Now, when the iTunes ban happened, did that concern you guys in terms of, we're not going to be around here for very long?
No, it bolstered us. Like, I think at that point we were just like, we had something to fight against, which was kind of nice. And also, we were counting on the digital side of things early on because we knew certain shops in the States would not carry the book. So we wanted to make sure everyone had access to it. And then the opposite happened, where all of a sudden nobody could get digital access to the books, at least not easily.
Right.
And so more people bought the physical copies.
That's awesome. That's amazing. And
then eventually, like, because of like Comixology selling to Amazon or whatever and wanting to get around Apple's rules, like everyone ended up in the same boat we were, which was you can't buy them directly on the iPad. You have to like buy them on the website and then have them transferred to the iPad.
Crazy. That's crazy.
So yeah, it worked out well, and like I said, it gave us a cause. It gave us kind of a reason beyond just the fun of making the comic and the readers, like to kind of do what we were doing and see where we could push it. So yeah, like, man, the first like 5-6 months of this book were just crazy because like so many things happened that helped us and kind of propelled us and emboldened us to kind of keep doing what we were doing.
Did the Time magazine thing happen during that first arc?
Yeah, it happened. So. Okay. Yeah, because it happened. It was like year end.
Right.
The book came out in September, so there was like 4 issues out when it was Comic of the Year.
Awesome.
And then, that happened, and then, the trade came out pretty quickly after that, and then it was like #1 New York Times best-selling dick joke book. And Matt and I were just like, wow, this is bonkers. Like every day was just like a weird new thing. And like I remember very clearly, like almost every day some weird new piece of news would show up, and I'd just be like, what? Like, what's happening? Like, I still had a full-time job. Like I was doing that whole yeare.
Newspaper stuff, right?
Yeah, so it was just like a real whirlwind, tiring year.
Crazy. And is there TV or movie interest in this?
Oh yeah, there was tons.
I would think so.
Like, especially, kind of hot out of the gate. I think we had like, it was something like 20 or 30 kind of requests from production companies.
Wow.
And Matt's agents, lawyers, like, they handled all of it, which eventually secured the Universal deal that him and Kelly Sue have.
Yeah, okay.
They write pilots and develop things, and part of that deal was that Universal gets the Sex Criminals rights. And when are you talking to Matt? You're talking to Matt tomorrow?
Tuesday. 2 days from
Tuesday. Okay. Well, I don't know how much I can divulge.
I respect that. I understand.
On Friday, some big stuff happened, and
hey, that's great.
But I can't. Yeah.
No.
I have no idea.
No. I understand. We live in an NDA world, and that's I understand that, and that's okay.
I didn't sign shit. I don't know if Matt signed. I didn't sign shit, so I could tell you. I choose not to tell you.
We don't want. Yeah, we don't want to upset the ship coming in, dude. No, this is. That's great.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I have no idea how these things ultimately work. Like, there's a big announcement, a couple of years ago when the Universal deal was made.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of sat quiet about it until that was actually announced, and then now I'm faced with a similar thing where I'm like, okay, I know what's happening, but do I wait? Like, who lets me know when I can say? So
don't worry, I won't release this until I talk to Matt. And if we're walking in a minefield right now, we'll.
No, it's fine. Yeah. Matt's more in control of it. That's the only reason I want to leave it up to him.
No problem, man.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's great, man. And I'm so glad that it really did open more doors for your writing to start to happen and everything. And then nice validation this summer in San Diego with the Eisners for Jughead. That's great. And your statement was well received and well read.
Good.
So
yeah, I mean that was I didn't go because I've been traveling a lot, and I'd done the Eisners before. Matt and I got Best New Series when we were there after the first year. And so I kind of passed on it, but knowing that Ryan and Erica and Derek were going to be there and accepting it, like, I was like, okay, it's in good hands. And then when it was happening, I was in bed. I was just kind of watching on my phone as, like, you know, the announcements are being made and, like, the photos. And, like, I got a little teary-eyed seeing, like, my buddies up on stage. Like, it was such a great feeling.
That's awesome.
Especially for Erica, because that was her first Eisner. She got her second Eisner later on that night for Squirrel Girl, but, like, I know she's you know, kind of dreamed of that, and you know, watching her accept that on behalf of us was just so awesome.
That's fantastic. Were you able to? Were they streaming it live, or were you watching like Twitter and Facebook?
Yeah, just Twitter posts. So
that's great.
The Twitter posts and the photos of them, and it was pretty great, because I love that book. Like, Jughead was so much fun. And,
yeah, man.
You know, Eric and I did 6 together, and she stuck around longer than she thought she would. I think she was only going to do 3. And then, you know, I stuck around for a couple more to help them out, and worked with Derek, who was awesome, and then suggested Ryan take over, and he took over, and he's amazing. And, that was so fun.
What do you think of Riverdale?
I only watched the first episode. I got, like, a little sneak peek before it came out. And as I was watching, I was like, you know, this is the kind of show that, like, I would totally watch if I was sick.
Like in bed, like sick?
Yeah, like that kind of thing. Because I kind of know, like, if I kind of kept going with it, I'd kind of get hooked, and I'd want to watch them over and over, like, back to back. Like, it felt like that kind of show.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty funny. It is pretty funny.
So I've kind of avoided it, like, for that, and, you know, there's a few other reasons, but, you know, you don't want to be the guy who's written Jughead to have to give his opinion on Riverdale, you know?
Well, I understand that too, because they did take the character in a slightly different direction than what you guys introduced in terms of, you know, Jughead's sexuality. I'm shrugging right now, saying, you know,
and that's part of it too, because, like, I recognize that there's a lot of readers and viewers that were wildly disappointed that they didn't go that route, and you know, just in kind of solidarity, I'm just like, I'm not really watching the show.
Okay. No, I understand. You know, help the old guy out, Matt, or Chip, I apologize, but who am I talking to right now? But who are you? You guys are interchangeable. No. Honestly, because I'm, you know, I don't know. I appreciate what you were introducing with Jughead, but also, I just know guys that in high school were like, kind of like, you know, I'm just doing my own thing. I don't even want to think about girls right now.
Yeah,
and then
for sure.
College came and they discovered their oh, look.
Yeah, he's been portrayed a bunch of ways over the years, like as maybe developing later, like you're kind of talking about, possibly gay, as some people would see.
Matt, or rather Ed's criminal.
Yeah, exactly.
Truly, I love that story. I think it's a fantastic story, man. And it's absolutely valid to you know, to go that way with Jughead, or a lot of different ways. So. Yeah,
for sure, and you know, some people just would see him as a straight up misogynist based on a lot of the old stories. And for me, it was one of those things where I'd actually met a ton of asexual readers through Sex Criminals, and because they would come up to the table at shows and they would say, and almost all of them would phrase it this way. They'd be like, you know, even though I'm asexual, I enjoy Sex Criminals. I'm like, well, you know, it's for everyone. So, you know, asexual or not, that's great.
Cool.
But, you know, Matt and I were kind of experiencing that at the same time. And then Matt wrote the character of Alex in Sex Criminals, who's asexual. And I was working on Jughead, and I was just like, you know, not even knowing that Matt was doing that, I was kind of looking at him, I was like, you know what? Like, there's... The idea of him being asexual just kind of made sense to me. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, why not? Why not just go with it? Like there are no asexual characters in popular culture, but there are a ton of asexual readers. So I did it, and Archie was totally fine with it, and I told them, you know, let's not make this a, you know, very special issue.
Sure.
Because I know the tendency for companies, especially a company like Archie, is to, like, you know, push the promo aspect of it. Like, Archie's been murdered or Kevin Keller's gay. It's like, becomes a big thing in the media. And I'm like, let's just do it like it's a normal thing, because it is a normal thing.
I'm understanding.
So let's not treat it otherwise. And they were totally cool with that. And it came out, it kind of, it stayed under the radar for a bit. But then, like, asexual readers noticed. And then, it kind of took off from there. And now it shows, like, there's so many people come up to me that, like, every show, multiple times, asexual readers, like, thanking me for it.
That's cool.
Which is I'm wildly uncomfortable being thanked for something like that, because it's not like I didn't do it as, like, I don't know, like, look at me, I'm doing this thing for people. Sure. Like, it just made sense for me, for the character. And there have been a few people that have said that they didn't realize there was a word for it.
Interesting.
Until they read that.
Wow.
Saw it pop up, like, on Tumblr or whatever, and then sought the issue out. That already identified with the character.
That's really
so people
cool. Yeah.
like asexual readers would identify with Jughead, no matter how you view the character, because his traits would lend themselves to them, right?
No, that makes perfect sense. That's really cool, and I also love the fact that Archie, which was, as in my childhood and certainly my early adulthood, was seen as such a conservative company back in the day, and it's really great that John has kind of, like, done the 180 and been like, no, Archie's for everybody.
Well, I think they realized with Afterlife with Archie that you can do so much with these characters.
Absolutely.
Like, they don't have to just be like the kind of repeating universe that they find themselves in. And out of all the comic companies, they've really latched on to the idea of, like, oh, sure, why not Archie versus Predator, or Sharknado, or the Ramones meet Archie, or a universe where he marries Betty, or, like, because you can do whatever you want. Absolutely. DC's got a bit of a line on that too. Like, they'll take chances once in a while with, like, Elseworlds book or
True.
Dark Knight, stuff like that.
Absolutely, yeah. No, and I agree with you, man.
Sean Murphy's new book, like, things that are just outside of what they're, kind of the hardcore continuity stuff.
And when Life with Archie, with one track being marrying Betty and the other track being Veronica, and all the different little soap opera points that they put in there. God, Miss Grundy dying.
Yeah.
Mr. Weatherby, and Miss Grundy finally getting together, and then she dies. Or poor Cheryl Blossom getting cancer.
Yeah.
I'm like, I cannot believe Life with Archie is literally one of my absolute go-to books every month. And I had not read Archie consistently since I was probably 12 years old. So it really was this, like, thrill of, like, wow. And truly, the directions they've gone are amazing. And I've seen, gay people come in and really, like, hey, man, I hear about Kevin Keller. Please let me, where is it? And seen that happen at Art and Franco's comic store, for example. In
of course.
And everything. So, that's really cool. So
and they've done it again with the Riverdale show.
Yeah, man.
Because the Riverdale show is, very CW, Twin Peaksy,
absolutely.
Hyper-sexed, which is, like, how I knew before even that show came out. Like, there's no way they would go for Jughead as asexual, because every teen on that show needed to have sex.
Yeah,
like, it's in the DNA of what they're attempting to do with that. But yeah, so they're taking the chances and they're doing different things, and good for them. I wish they'd do different things once in a while, but sure.
Well, and we'll see how things develop. I mean, they had an interesting season 1. Things can change. I mean, attitudes from characters can change. They might discover them. These guys and women might discover themselves in a different orientation when they really look at themselves. Who knows?
I think it'd be amazing if they all realized they were asexual. Every character, like, over the course of season 2, every episode, they're just like, you know what? I don't know. This doesn't feel like it's for me. I think that's the way they should go.
You're killing me. That's fantastic. Did you have to talk to, was Roberto, because isn't Roberto kind of not only the guy behind Riverdale, but also kind of guiding the comic line as well?
Yeah.
So did you have to talk to him about it or anything, or just,
No, I've only ever talked to him at conventions when we're on a panel. I think during that period especially, like, he was working on Riverdale. Like, I think he was like, he probably had less to do with the comics during the period when I was doing the comics.
Okay.
Because he was busy kind of developing that show from the ground up
Sure.
before they even started filming. So yeah, there was no crossover with us, but like I'm assuming that they ran it by him and John,
and Mike, obviously, I would imagine.
Yeah. Mike was my point guy. Like
that's cool. Mike is great.
I dealt with him all the time.
I like Mike a lot. I really got to hang out with him 2 San Diegos ago. And,
yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, funny guy and really great stories and stuff. And like went to the Cupid school. So
yeah, just an intern that kind of worked his way up in Archie.
Yeah, man. No, it's pretty neat.
President of Archie.
That's pretty cool. Absolutely. So, well, moving on to Marvel.
Right.
Howard the Duck was first.
Yeah. That's why I was contacted by Will Moss for that, because Will bought a copy of Monster Cops for me at San Diego in like 2002.
Wow.
And so he knew that I could tell a story instead of just illustrate a story.
Right.
So I think that was, and he was like, he got some heat from Sex Criminals, so one thing led to another, and I did a tiny thing for him, a little gag strip for an anthology, and then pitched on Howard when he asked me to, and yeah, next thing you know.
How many issues of Howard? Because, renumbering confuses me.
With the renumbering, we did 16.
That's cool.
Yeah, and we left. Like, it wasn't even like the sales were tanking and they had to pull the plug. Like, Joe, again, like similar to Erica on Jughead, Joe was only going to do a certain number of issues when he signed up, but he was having fun, I was having fun, and but by issue 16 with only one fill-in artist, Kevin McGuire in issue 7, which is also awesome.
I was going to say, that doesn't suck. Yeah, man, Jesus.
No, unbelievable. And so that means Joe drew like 15 issues of it, which is a long stretch for an artist. And, he was getting tired. I had an endpoint for the story. And so I was like, well, okay, we'll just work towards that. Like, I've kind of had I've had the idea for the whole thing the whole time. And so, I mean, we could have kind of started from scratch after the ending and done, the next volume or whatever. But it felt like a good time to be like, all right, let's wrap it up on a high note. What we felt was a high note anyways.
Sure.
But I massively regret it.
Really?
Yeah. The further away I get from the book, and every time I see Joe at a show, I'm just like, oh my God, I miss doing that book so much. And there's a bunch of reasons for it. 1, Joe, he's the best. 2, nobody gave a shit because it's Howard the Duck, so you can do whatever you want.
Yes.
It was amazing. Once in a while you get a note and you're like, okay, yeah, all right, we can't have him murder Aunt May or whatever. And then you go on with it. I got to work with Joe again on the Harley Quinn story.
I was going to bring that up. Nice reunion. Absolutely, man. Great little... Was it 8 pages?
Yeah, a little 8-pager. Yeah,
hilarious.
First DC work.
And, honestly, I'm so glad that one of you posted the art from the first page, and all those great Easter eggs of the Joker and various little trinkets of his career. And
so good. I don't even think I put any of them in the script. Maybe I put one of them in, 2 of them, and I just said to Joe, I know you can do a deep dive on this stuff, so just go nuts. Especially 89 Batman, Michael Keaton stuff.
Yes, love that Joker, the girls.
Yeah, he posts about that all the time. So when I love that Joker girl showed up, I almost died laughing.
Absolutely, man. And Jesus, the jacket. I'm looking at the page right now. The Joker, the surfboard from Batman '66, third season, and both looking fantastic in bathing suits. Both he and Batman. But yeah, the jackets from Batman '89.
Yeah,
great stuff, man. I'm looking, like I said, I'm looking at it right now. It's Bird Psychology is the name of the story. And
we only had one joke cut from it. I think there were 3 kind of main edits on the story, and I knew there was one gag I had in there that was not going to work, but I tried it anyways, which was because the whole storyline's about the Joker wanting to put all of Gotham to sleep, and so in my script I had him dressed like Morpheus. Because he's pale and skinny, so I just had his hair. I wanted his hair all teased out, his green hair like Morpheus, and wearing this purple flowing robe, and talking in the white on purple speech balloons. And the editor, rightly, Chris Conroy was like, yeah, "Very funny, but nah, I'm sorry." Yeah. He didn't say that, but I'm assuming it would just add another layer of hassle.
Sure, man. And for people who the uninitiated, and maybe 3 people listening that don't know what we're talking about, Neil Gaiman's Sandman, Morpheus, which really got it, and that's something you never really think of. But yeah, Joker could totally cosplay as Morpheus. That would be great.
100%. Yeah, I love that gag so much.
That's awesome, man.
A little sad to see it go, but yeah, they were great to work with. I loved that story, and it went pretty smoothly. And Joe knocked it out of the park.
Well, I hope you guys get back together again on a series down the road.
Oh yeah, no, we talk about it all the time.
That'd be great. No, you guys are a great team, absolutely, man. So, and they've collected your 16 issues of Howard, haven't they, or have they not?
Yeah, there's 3 trades.
Right, but there's not one big, it's not enough for an omnibus per se, but like a nice deluxe hardcover that has everything.
I don't know if there's enough money to be made to make it an omnibus, really.
Okay. Yeah,
I love it, and it's still the book that I think most people come up to me about besides Sex Criminals at shows.
Cool.
Because I think it was a fun book, but it's still Howard the Duck. It's hard to justify. All right, let's do the deluxe version of Howard the Duck, not by Steve Gerber.
Well, and that's honestly what I was going to say is tough nut to crack, man. I mean, it was such a Gerber book, and it really did seem like, thank God that beyond even the original run, when Gerber would come back to it and stuff, that's where the magic was with the character. Yeah, you guys did great. Seriously, man. No, you guys did fantastic with it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's, I think the key was to make it different enough from that version while retaining just enough of the spirit, because you can't imitate Gerber.
Yeah.
That's disrespectful, in a way. I mean, it's all disrespectful. I'm just going to come out and say that. Everything about doing Howard the Duck beyond Steve Gerber is disrespectful, but that is what this business is built on. God damn it.
That's interesting, because also it's, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and I think because I think Swamp Thing, especially with the passing of Len Wein, and earlier this year Bernie Wrightson, I think back of all those times in the 90s, and certainly, Alan Moore obviously took the left turn with Swamp Thing, and then it really became, how do we keep the Moore spirit going of Swamp Thing, and Toddlebon and Rick Veitch and those guys.
Well, yeah.
And so I think you're right. And you're also, when you think of the traditional characters and stuff, that's interesting that you think, because again, it's funny, for the big 2 lately, I've been doing the fast food analogy, and it's really saying DC and Marvel are like Burger King and McDonald's. And I think sometimes to attract the new readers that are coming in through Image books and stuff, I think DC and Marvel sometimes tries too hard to get those readers. And it's like, hey, I didn't walk into McDonald's to get a steak. I came for a hamburger, and I came for a shitty fast food hamburger. And so, and again, but there's that tact, but then again, we constantly get innovations. And, Snyder, when he came on Swamp Thing, made a left turn. And I guess maybe it started with John's with Brightest Day. But it's like, oh, no, let's get back to Alec Holland rather than, worry about, or make Alec Holland the plant elemental versus it being its own being.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. That's interesting. So when do you be reverent and when do you need to innovate,
Yeah, it's tricky because on a comic where there's such a long run, like if you look at X-Men or whatever, sure, Lee and Kirby created it, but Claremont, Cockrum, Smith, those guys were the guys that took it to a completely different place and a different level.
Sure.
And and other teams have followed since that have redefined the team. Morrison and Quitely and Cordy. Mm-hmm. So it's with Howard though it was different because there were really the kind of the original. I mean, there were tiny bursts of Howard through the years, but there was the original however many 32 issues. And then Mantlo took over the magazine, and Gerber hated it, and I took kind of pains to not reference Duck World because I knew Gerber hated Duck World because he didn't create it.
Funny.
Gerber's idea was that Howard's world he came from would be an unseen anthropomorphic world.
Sure.
So it would be Disney characters working monotonous jobs or whatever.
Right.
And then Mantlo, I believe, came up with just the idea of Duck World. He's from a world of ducks. Right. And Gerber hated it. So, I never reference Duck World. Whenever I talk about Howard going home, it's always just about going home. It's never about, a planet of ducks.
I'm with
you. Even though I know that is, the continuity thing. And I said to my editor, I'm like, hey, was the Secret Wars happening? When they reform the universe, can we reform it so it's no longer a duck world? And he's like, no. So I'm like, oh, well, okay, I tried.
Too funny.
That was my one thing I tried for Gerber. Yeah.
What, for Star-Lord, and writing Star-Lord when you did, when the Guardians are grounded and everything, and that's another character that, God, I didn't remember the black and white issue. I just happened to buy it in the last 10 years before the whole reboot was happening with Star-Lord and everything, and certainly now, household name thanks to the two movies, obviously. Yeah. But that's really outside of Bendis, and I don't even remember what Abnett and Lanning necessarily did with them during their cosmic run and everything. But it seems like that's another character that there's not a lot of fingerprints on it. So you could, we know who he is, but tell me about writing Peter Quill, Grounded.
Yeah, so, when I was a kid, I read, the Star-Lord magazines, which were just wild, trippy adventures where his ship wanted to have sex with him. It was just, just awesome and crazy. I met Claremont at a show just a few years ago, and I told him I'm taking over Star-Lord, and that was my one thing that I mentioned to him, I like the part about the ship wanting to have sex with him.
What did he say?
Oh, what was it? He was like, yeah, it was an analogy or something. But yeah, so I read those when I was a kid, and then I followed a bit of Abnett Lanning run when it was coming out.
Okay.
But I didn't really get back into it until I kind of got the gig and went back to reread them. So the movie clearly changed things. The character changed a lot.
Yeah.
By the time Bendis took over,
right?
Abnett Lanning laid the groundwork with the actual that core team. So it was an interesting gig because I was worried about it because I knew there were a lot of Abnett Lanning fans who probably didn't like that the movie had changed the Peter Quill character so much. So that was a concern. But I was presented with a scenario where they were grounded. Bendis was going to be writing Guardians in which they were stranded on Earth, so that was my starting point, which made it easier to kind of make him a bit more of a relatable character, kind of stuck in a bit of a rut and trying to figure his way out of this situation. And that was a ton of fun, and to be able to kind of play in New York with the bar with no name and have him be a bartender, aka bar lord.
Yep.
It was awesome, and Chris Anka was just a stellar artist. I've been so lucky. I can't think of anyone who's been as lucky as I have in terms of the artists that they've been able to work with on these corporate books.
Completely agree.
They're,
absolutely.
They're like arranged marriages, in a lot of ways. You have no idea,
this is your sister.
An editor
wife.
will tell you, oh yeah, we got this guy for the book, and they'll show you some pages. I just saw The Big Sick.
Yes, I love that movie. That was fantastic.
And I just pictured his cigar box of all the photos of the women that he was trying to be set up with for the arranged marriage.
Yes.
That's how it feels. You just get these photos of the artwork from previous issues. Hey, what do you think of this guy? Huh? We've hired him. He's doing all 6 issues. I'm oh, okay. But it's been great. Chris is so good on it, so good, and I'm grateful we were able to at least finish out that story, because it was tons of fun, and I feel it's a collection that's going to stand up, and yeah.
No, it's a nice, absolutely, man. No, great Star-Lord story, absolutely. Well, let's, if we still have time, I obviously want to talk about Spectacular Spider-Man. So, dude, nice going. Seriously, it's because, God, it really fits, and I don't know if people necessarily thought right away. Well, of course, Chip Zdarsky would write a great Spider-Man. It's really, really funny, and also I do appreciate the contrast because I love what Slott's been doing. And
for
it's
sure.
fantastic. But that's the thing. It's great to have this alongside the slot run because it comes in from a different angle and also gives you that tour of the Marvel Universe as you put Spidey and his sister that's not his sister. Now I miss that storyline.
It's a little up in the air. Yeah, it was one of the lesser known Mark Waid stories. It was an original graphic novel called Family Business. It was put out there.
How long ago was that?
Not that long ago. I have 2013, 12.
Okay.
maybe?
Wow.
It was one of Marvel's kind of pushes into original graphic novels. It's just in my research for the book. It's like I wanted the book to kind of be about Peter's family. And I kept thinking, like, it'd be great if he had, like, a sibling. Like, I kind of like the idea of introducing a sibling and what that would mean for him. And then, a couple of searches later, I'm like, oh, he has one, kind of. And so I was able to kind of, like, figure out a proper kind of story for kind of introducing her and kind of an overall large story for the series, which as it kind of goes on will be a bit more revealed. Like we kind of started off like super fun and light and stuff, and like today I just finished writing issue 7, which is just like relentless and kind of bleak and crazy, and it's tons of fun.
Well, and I mean, anytime Peter and Johnny Storm get together, hilarity ensues, and it's so much fun because again I remember Slot's miniseries that Michael Ringo drew back in the day. That's a really great one. And then, I mean, from a sad standpoint, when Hickman killed off Johnny, and just the hole that not only left in the Fantastic Four, but also with Peter and everything. And God, that great scene of Peter and Franklin on the rooftop.
Yes.
And it's like, I know what it means when your favorite uncle dies. And it's like, oh my God, that's true. Holy shit, when stuff like that happens. So now it's great to get back to the fun again of these guys. And they're a nice trio, Johnny, Peter, and Teresa, kind of running around.
I know it's funny because I basically had like in Howard, I put Johnny in there a couple of times, just because he was so much fun, and Spider-Man as well. I think putting Spider-Man in Howard was what got me the Spider-Man job, and putting Johnny in the Spider-Man book is what got me the Marvel 2-in-1 job.
That's excellent.
So all I got to do is somehow squeeze Batman into Marvel 2-in-1. And I know what my next job is going to be. It's going to be amazing.
That's great. Before we get to Marvel 2-in-1, I'm really digging it, and the 3 issues have been fantastic. Free Comic Book Day was a great start, and it was just like, oh, look at that. Oh my God, this is going to be fun. So, no, man, you got him at his quippy best, and this is the kind of Spider-Man that I think everybody loves and loves to see. And also this great kind of road trip through the Marvel Universe as they're tracking down what's going on.
It's it's interesting because the book was a book with a mandate. Like when they brought me on, they were like, they got this movie coming out, Homecoming, with a Spider-Man who's super back to basics, kind of starting over. And they're like, and in the main Spider-Man book, we have Peter Parker as a tech genius running a $1 billion company.
Right.
So there's a bit of a disconnect there, and they didn't want to derail Dan, obviously, because he's telling this great story. Yes. So the best way they figured out was to bring in another title that could kind of like strip it back down to him in New York, and not really talk about the Parker Industries stuff. So the mandate was to make it fun, and hopefully I've done that. Writing Spider-Man is a blast because you have to make the jokes good, but not that good.
Right.
There's like a sweet spot for a Spider-Man quip in the middle of battle. It has to seem like it's the kind of joke that a guy's telling in the middle of punching a flying senior citizen.
Well, and it's got to piss them off. It's got to piss the villain off in a good, annoying way.
Yeah, exactly.
So, no, it's terrific, man. No, you got a good voice. So now, and shame on me, I don't pay attention to announcements. Marvel 2-in-1, talk to me.
Oh yeah. So they announced it this past week as part of the Legacy Initiative. So it's myself and Jim Chung.
Wow, that's great.
Which is, again, talking about that streak. It's It's kind of mind-boggling.
Yeah, Kubert, by the way, obviously on Spider-Man, so that doesn't suck. By the way,
it's unbelievable. And
Adam Kubert, well, holy shit.
He's one of those guys where like a lot of people don't recognize it, but his sense of cartooning is so great. Like when he draws Spider-Man in motion and emoting, like it's pure cartoon.
Yes,
even though he's got kind of that like kind of a detailed, angular style, like he still manages to make it seem fun and fresh. And he's a great guy. Like I've met him a couple of times now, and I'm like, he's just like, he's insanely young at heart. Like he's excited to do the books, and he's excited for trying new things. And I'm like, he's like, I know he's older than me.
Yeah, he's like,
but he looks like 5 years younger than me.
That's hilarious. Yeah, he's either like around my age, slightly younger, slightly older. I forget.
Yeah, it's bonkers. So he's great.
That's cool.
And Jordi Belair on colors, like she's killing it.
Absolutely, man. Redlines is so good too. Her writing, I'm so happy for her.
Yeah.
And I just talked to Deck, and I'm going to talk to Jordi hopefully in a few weeks. But is there going to be a relief artist for Adam, or is he going to be able to do it monthly?
He's pretty insistent on doing it monthly. I think partly because he's having fun, and he also just likes the idea of like an uninterrupted run.
Cool.
But there's like a double ship month coming up, and so we needed to bring in another artist, a Canadian guy, Michael Walsh, to do issue 6.
Okay.
Which is great. Like it's a perfect issue for him too. It's like a sit down dinner interview between Spider-Man and J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, that's an interesting little tack too in terms of what Jonah's doing during this whole story.
Yeah. He's got Jonah's rock bottom, and he's like trying to figure his way out. And the internet's the future, so he's working his blog. But yeah, he scores this interview with Spider-Man because he has information that Spidey wants, and so basically the whole issue is them kind of like hashing everything out.
All right, forgive the politic comparison, but is there any, like, and without it being political, is there any Steve Bannon in there? Is there any Drudge in what Jonah's doing? And again, I don't mean that in any, because believe me, I do think that both sides get very reactionary when you suggest something like that. But I mean it from an apolitical standpoint.
No, because Jonah, I mean...
Yeah, he's a menace. Spider-Man's a menace. We know where he stands.
Jonah, at his core, his heart is like a good, decent man. Yes. So I don't want to compare him to Steve Bannon.
And I understand that too. Believe me, I do. But yeah, just in terms of, I guess, is he Ariana Huffington then?
Well, he's basically a guy who's like every journalist I worked with who was let go or took a buyout and had to realize they had to start over. And some people have like online ventures, and Jonah is in a similar boat, and he's lost a lot. And one of the only things he kind of still has, weirdly enough, is Spider-Man.
Yes. His
hatred of Spider-Man. Yes. His kind of undying like need to show the world that this guy is a threat and or a menace. Because he's gone through a lot of stuff lately. So it's like, where do you take a character like that? So that it all kind of comes out in this issue 6 by Mike.
That's cool.
And,
now,
the pages coming in are pretty fantastic.
Now, and forgive me, I'm forgetting the name of your creator-owned book that you did with all the fantasy characters.
Oh, Kaptara.
Yeah. Did Mike do Kaptara or no?
No, Kagan McLeod
did.
That's
right. Excuse me. I'm so sorry that I forgot Kagan's very unique name. Go on.
I get asked at every convention about Kaptara, and the answer is sadly the same, which is Kagan has the script for issue 6, and he's had it for coming up 2 years now. So I'm hoping as much as everyone else that he'll get back into it. But comics are hard. Comics are hard.
No, I understand that. I totally understand that. So Marvel 2-in-1.
Yeah.
Tell me, So the Thing is back with a new guest star book, or is it someone else as the star of Marvel 2-in-1?
The twist on it is that it's just Thing and Human Torch. So the 2-in-1 kind of refers to
of course,
the two of them coming back together as a unit.
They're great
because they haven't really. I mean, there have been a few kind of encounters between the two of them since the end of Secret Wars.
Yes.
And the loss of the Richards family, but they've both been doing their own thing,
yes,
for a variety of reasons, And so this issue is kind of like getting them back together and getting them to sort through the residual feelings and problems.
Fallout,
the fallout from all of it.
Well, they're family. That's cool.
Yeah.
And that's go on.
This is kind of like the de facto kind of Fantastic Four book for now, in a way.
Sure.
Because it's these characters and a lot of FF supporting characters from the past, and Doom and Mole Man, and getting to play with those guys. So it's tons of fun, and again, Jim Chung on art has been, getting those pages just like your jaw drops. I'm sure you're not going to answer this question, but I love what Bendis has been doing in Infamous Iron Man with Doom, and man, those. Honestly, my favorite matchup, and everyone loves the chess match between Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom, but for me, it really is Ben and Doom. Because Ben is so not impressed with Victor Von Doom, and it's that asshole from college. I hated him then. I still hate him. Yeah.
Vic, I don't like you. I never liked you. And the same thing with Doom. It's like, I don't understand why I have to deal with you, you buffoon.
Yeah, they're total opposites. It's awesome. Yeah, Doom shows up pretty quickly in issue 1 because I love what Bendis and Malieve are doing there, and it's such a great turn for Doom that I had to put him in the book to kind of explore that.
That's excellent.
Because ultimately, my take on him is he thinks he's doing the right thing, but he's going about it in the wrong way.
Victor is trying to do the right thing. Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun.
And what about Johnny and Doom? Because that's really, I when I talked to Brian last, we were talking about Defenders, and he was saying that, Danny Rand and Wilson Fisk likely, operate in the same social circles because of their wealth. And it's like, we never really see those guys interact. I'm like, that's a really good point, man. And it's, I don't really remember any, classic Johnny versus Dr. Doom moments.
No, same here, but within Marvel 2-in-1, Ben is kind of like the point man for Doom. Like, Ben and Doom will both I don't want to spoil anything, but it's like...
Okay.
there's a connection there between Ben and Doom that does not include Johnny for a good reason.
Okay.
And we'll be kind of exploring that.
Dude,
by issue 2, I have a pretty fun flashback to the college days, which is also great.
Excellent. That
with Reed no longer here, you kind of look at ways to bring him back, and flashbacks are always fun.
That's cool. Well, and is Ultimate Reed still kind of lurking around? Obviously,
in Bendis's book, I'm not going to include him in there just because, I know Bendis has plans. So.
Okay.
It's that tricky thing, it's funny enough, I had it with Bendis before with Star-Lord and Guardians, because I have to take my cue from Guardians and be careful I'm not bringing in characters that he's going to be doing stuff with. So I'm in the same situation again, but it's a good situation because I end up getting privy to the stuff that he's got coming up, and it's awesome. It's my favorite Marvel book right now, Infamous Iron Man. So
yeah, I agree with you. It's one of my favorites.
It's kind of nice to have mine be a bit of a satellite to that one.
Interesting.
Yeah,
interesting.
I like it,
dude. I'm totally rooting for 2-in-1 to work because, really, again, it's so funny when they go back to basics. Everyone's like, "Oh, great, that's for those Wednesday people that have been buying comics for 40 years." It's like, yeah, sorry. But I love the Thing, and really the Thing teaming up with it's cool with Johnny. That's totally fine. But man, the classic run, so many great team ups, and I just, in fact, one of my recent commercials for In Stock Trades was making love to that new Marvel Masterworks. That's Volume 2 of 2-in-1, and the Liberty Legion and all that shit. Or when Byrne had the original version of the Thing, he time traveled back to the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
And it was more lumpy Thing versus Rock Thing and everything.
Yep.
Hilarious. Great shit, man.
Yeah, no, I love those old books, but Fantastic Four is the one that's kind of influencing this one a bit more, I'd say.
No, I understand.
It's one of those weird things, as I was approached with the title already in place, and I was like, well, Marvel 2-in-1, this is going to be a different book from that.
Cool.
Like it's a weird thing, but I've got the name, so I kind of want to live up to the fun of the old Marvel 2-in-1 books too.
I just miss the importance of Ben as a solo character, and granted he's sharing with Johnny and everything, but that's the thing. And man, when Slott was doing that Thing book, and it didn't even make it to 10 issues or whatever, and I was like, oh, this is so fucking good. You know, and I really hope that there's a audience out there. But again, I think you're building your bona fides with what you're doing with the Marvel Universe and everything. So I'm sure people are gonna dip in. When is your first issue?
I don't know. Jim is wrapping up issue 1 right now. I think it's solicited for December, maybe.
Okay.
It's a later legacy book.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I mean, I learned with Star-Lord not to take a guess as to how long the book's going to last. I kind of look at each issue as being, okay, if this is my last issue, I feel good about it. Like, this is a strong issue, You kind of have to look at it that way.
Sure.
I'm hoping at least because we're kind of the first story arc is titled Fate of the Four, so it's kind of about the fate of.
Oh, very nice.
The Richards.
Sure.
So I think that'll kind of help bring some people in too. So we'll see.
Very exciting, man. No, that's great. And like I said, no, I had no idea. So as soon as you said 2-in-1, it's like ding. That's wonderful. And yeah, man, we missed the Fantastic Four, and if we can only get Ben and Johnny to carry the torch, pardon the pun, with until calmer heads realize the greatness of the Four. Matt's run was so great. Hickman's run was so great. James Robinson, everybody.
It's the one title where I feel like there are more great runs over the course of the history of Fantastic Four than there are on any other book.
I think you might be right.
Yeah.
Jesus.
My favorite is Walt Simonson's.
Yes.
That was just insanely fun. I remember that was kind of like towards the end of my initial kind of comic buying period, like end of high school.
Okay, sure.
I was picking those up, and God, every issue was just like, I'd read them over and over again. They were just filled with fun, like vibrant images and time travel and dinosaurs and alternate universes and cool Doom retcons.
Absolutely. Byrne, when he brought them back to their basics and everything, and had Ben back in the trench coat and the hat. I loved that. Wasn't that Byrne? That was Byrne, wasn't it? I think so.
Yeah, he definitely had him in a trench coat and hat.
Yeah, it was kind of back to the original look and kind of the original feel. And Marv Wolfman during the late Bronze Age, I think it was 200 or 300.
200.
Yeah, when the Son of Doom was a clone and everything, and Doom and Reed Richards have the big showdown, and he takes Doom's mask off, and Doom freaks out, and he's in the padded cell at the end and everything.
Oh God, I remember that issue so well. It blew my mind.
I told Marv Wolfman that. I'm like, dude, that was fantastic. He's like, oh, thanks.
It's so funny. I was at an age where those comics had already come out, but I recognized that anniversary issues were big deals. So whenever we would travel somewhere, like as a family, I would seek out a comic shop and try to find old anniversary issues. So I remember buying that one and being blown away. And also bought I think it was Amazing Spider-Man 100, where he ends up sprouting the extra arms.
Yes.
It's just like, wow, these anniversary issues are where it's at.
I'm telling you, man. I'm going to do Salt Lake City Con this coming week, and I got to do the 5 most important Spider-Man stories. And it's so much fun going through decades. And, it would be great to do a Fantastic Four panel like that as well. That's why, honestly, I really love the Salt Lake City Cons, because they really do have these fun panels where you just discuss a nerd topic, and everyone just kind of contributes and stuff. And I'm so, I've kind of been compiling my list, and I'll even say, I know Kraven's Last Hunt is going to be on there. I know The Death of Gwen Stacy is going to be on there, and that was I didn't read the original run. I'm a little younger for that, but when it was in Marvel Tales, and I was like 9 or 10 years old, and Jerry Conway really blew my mind, and it was such a pleasure to have him on the show and say, man, that was just such a creative explosion in my head of, oh wow, there are consequences, and the hero doesn't always rescue the girl, and it's like, no way is this actually happening. And it really was
it blew everyone's mind when it happened.
Yeah, man, it's like, oh my God. So yeah, and like you said, I mean, that Fantastic Four 300 with Reed and Doom and everything, and the arms with Spider-Man in issue 100. No, it's it's fun. And isn't it great that even years later it can still have that impact, because it's true what they say. Every comic book could be the first one for somebody. So you do really have to take it that way.
If you're doing the Spider-Man list, you have to include the kid who collects Spider-Man.
Fair enough. Roger Stern, I believe.
Yeah.
There we go. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a possibility. I don't know. I feel, and also, it'll be interesting with the various panelists. And, Len Wein did such great Spider-Man work, too. So, it's like, I really want to, I've got that Titan book of all the great various writers who wrote Spider-Man and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
And I love that book. And it's, honestly, it's one of the inspirations for how I try to conduct word balloon and everything in my conversations and stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna think hard about that. But yeah, that's obviously a classic as well. But I really do want to kind of get stories that represent each era. And I think Superior Spider-Man's going to probably make it to my list, because I really do love that story.
Yeah, no, it was an amazing story, and like a bold choice. Like, I think one of the great things about the fact that Dan has kind of worked with the character for so long is that it pushes him into corners.
Yes.
And he's like, all right, I've kind of like written the Spider-Man stories that I had in my head since I was 10. Now what do I do?
Where do I go?
And that's where you're getting like these kind of like awesome creative bursts. Like between Superior Spider-Man and the kind of the Parker Industry stuff now, it's like those are just really bonkers ideas.
Absolutely. I loved when Aunt May walked him to his first day when it was still Horizon. And she leaves and she kind of looks to the sky and it's like, Ben, it finally happened. Our dreams for Peter have finally come true. And it's like, you need a Dan Slott to like pull that kind of continuity together and go, yeah, this is important and this is why.
Well, it kind of answers the question. Like I think there's a thing that happens, especially with readers of a character, when the readers age with the character.
Yes.
At some point, they're kind of like, why isn't this character like advancing?
Right.
And, there's an obvious answer for that, which is then the character no longer becomes the character.
Well, like you said earlier, when, everything is Act 2.
Yeah, so if every character learns from their mistakes and, in 60 years of continuity comics, you end up with a bunch of Captain Americas who always make the right decision and they don't lose their temper because they learned their lesson about that, and they don't do this because they learned a lesson about that. And so that's a hard thing, but like, I think the gripe is always like, Peter's a genius. Why is he always like having these like shitty jobs and bad luck and stuff? Dan's just like, all right, I'm going to give it to you. I'll show you what happens.
Yep.
And he's doing it, and he's showing him trying to juggle that and juggle his sense of responsibility with this company and all the problems that kind of arise from it and surrounding stuff.
It's a different interpretation of great power and great responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Good stuff, man.
It's brilliant. It's like, okay, this is what you want? I'll show you.
Well, and again, Superior Spider-Man is just all the grief he took, and also it just blows my mind that not to get callous, but really it's like, okay, he's dead. A character's dead for a moment. It's like, it's not going to last. Don't worry. Captain America's not going to stay bad forever. Don't worry. And just that reaction that comes out in all those heart-filled blogs of, you've ruined my character, you've destroyed my childhood, how dare you kill this person, and or make him bad, and it's like, wow.
It's ever since I was a kid, it's kind of a recurring idea within the comics, which is like, when I was a kid, I was reading Grunwald's Cap.
Okay, sure.
And when it switched over to, Super Patriot becoming Captain America.
John Walker.
Yeah, and also over in Batman, Azrael becoming Batman.
Yes.
It kind of gives readers who complain about those characters what they've been asking for, which is, why isn't Cap a killer?
Right.
Why does he let these people away? Why isn't Batman, why isn't he a killer? And it takes you to do that storyline to show you why not.
Right.
And Superior Spider-Man is the same thing. It's like, let Spider-Man get his shit together and like, he could like totally protect and take over New York and, and so you show it with Dr. Octopus as Spider-Man and what that actually means.
Well, and approaching Mary Jane is really kind of a lab, test. And in terms of relationships, let's see how far I can go. And then, okay, I learned it. Thank you. Moving on to something else now. Or the best is when he broke Tarantula's jaw. And it's like, holy shit, this guy's been holding back all this time. Because that is what I love. And by the way, that's another one on my list, is the Civil War subplot of everyone getting Spider-Man's identity and the Kingpin trying to kill Aunt May. And Spider-Man going to the jail and having the knockdown drag-out with Kingpin. It's like, fuck you. You come after my family. I am not holding back. This is not going to take multiple pages of us fighting each other. I have your lunch, and I am going to put you on the ground. And this is how strong I am. And it's like, that's the best, is when Spider-Man is really just unleashed. And it's like, this is how powerful he is.
Yeah, I've mentioned it before in some interviews, but like one of my favorite Spider-Man issues is the Fire Lord two-parter.
Okay, tell me about that. I don't remember
back in the 80s, where like I forget the setup, but like Fire Lord basically comes to New York, and Spider-Man pisses him off or whatever. And Fire Lord is like intent on killing Spider-Man. And he's like a herald of Galactus, so Spider-Man's just going all through New York, trying to like lose him, trick him into defeating himself, like enlisting New Yorkers to help him out, like blowing up buildings. Like, it's just like, it's this crazy fight across the city. And at the end, like, Spider-Man just had it, and he just hauls off and like bounces around so Fire Lord can't touch him, and just like beats him to a pulp. And like all the Avengers show up like, oh, did you just beat up a Herald of Galactus?
Awesome. That's fantastic. Dude, great talk, man. I'm sorry it's been so long, and I'm really happy with what you're doing, both artistically and writing. It's all the same, coming from the same head, man. And really nice going. And I'm really glad that you're getting the opportunities you are. Are you exclusive to Marvel? I mean, you did that Harley Quinn story, obviously, but like, would we see you with DC at some point if the right opportunity came up?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Like, I'm not exclusive to Marvel. The thing right now is just the fact that I'm kind of maxed out in terms of how much I can do, and as far as I'm concerned, I want to be on Spider-Man and Marvel 2-in-1 for as long as those books will have me. So yeah, I mean, I had a great time doing that DC book, and yeah, I mean, if DC, gave me a phone call and said, "Hey, we noticed you put Batman and Marvel 2-in-1."
Oh, that's good. That's very Walt Simonson of you. I like that. When Clark and Lois would show up in Thor and stuff like that.
Yeah, so, we liked what you did there. You want to come over here and do Batman? Then, maybe if the money was right, I'd do it.
I like it. That's awesome. Now, keep it up, dude. Well done, and thanks, always a pleasure. And, let's not wait so long for the next conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know, I'm always a little energized after a conversation with Chip Zdarsky, and I'm happy to share it with you today on Word Balloon. Could Matt Fraction be on the way? Of course he is. Look for him next week on Word Balloon, a wonderful new fireside chat with Matt Fraction. We continue our sex criminals conversation and go a bit further on some other things that Matt's been doing. It's been a long time since we've had a talk, and I like I say, I miss these guys. I love talking to them. And I knew if I put them together, it was going to be just, irreverence, and we wouldn't really ever have any interest, and not that their comedy isn't interesting, but I like having some serious talks with these guys as well. And, you heard me laugh, and I laughed with Matt as well. But we get into some really interesting talks, and you really get a feel for where Matt is right now creatively. So, God, I gotta get Kelly Sue DeConnick back on the show too. Ever since Shelley Bond was, praising Kelly Sue and her wonderful insight on Word Balloon, it's like, yeah, man, I got to get her back. So, very busy, as you can tell from the output this month on Word Balloon, and I will do what I can to give you that much output in October as well. But really loved the conversation with Chip. If you haven't checked out the Greg Pak interview, great stuff about Planet Hulk, about Cadet Metal U, his wonderful Boom series that he's doing right now, and it's a good companion to the Zdarsky conversation today on Word Balloon. All brought to you by the League of Word Balloon listeners. Thank you, League, for your support. If you'd like to help support Word Balloon, you can do that by subscribing via Patreon. It's not necessary, but if you think Word Balloon is worth your time and you've got the money to spare, and help me out in my quests and conventions and upgrading equipment and making Word Balloon the top-notch show that I hope it is each time you listen to it, go to patreon.com/wordballoon or go to the front page of wordballoon.com and click on the Patreon ad. That'll show you where to support Word Balloon. But thank you very much, League of Word Balloon listeners. Word Balloon is also brought to you by In Stock Trades. At InStockTrades.com, you can get great books like Volume 7 of East of West, Jonathan Hickman and Nick Dragata. The final year of the apocalypse begins. They're winding up the story here, man. 128 pages. It's 42% off, $9.85. Got to get Hickman back. Got to get Nick Dragata on more than just a little convention conversation that we had with John a few years ago on Word Balloon. You can get the Nightwing Volume 3, Nightwing Must Die. This is part of DC Rebirth, and man, my buddy Tim Seeley kicking ass on Nightwing. Javi Fernandez is the artist. This is 144 pages of Dick Grayson goodness. I think you ought to check it out. It's 42% off, $9.85. You can get, let's see, what else have we got? How about Scoopy Apocalypse? Are you digging the new take on Scooby-Doo from Keith Giffen and Howard Porter and Jam DeMatteis, of course? Pretty neat. Or is it DeMatteis? You know, I always get it wrong. This collects the second half of Scoopy Apocalypse, issues 7 through 12. It's 42% off. It's $9.85. There's a lot of other great books waiting for you at great prices at InStockTrades.com. Don't take my word for it. Go there. You'll find your favorite artists and your favorite writers at InStockTrades.com. Thanks for listening to today's Word Balloon. More coming next week. Matt Fraction among some of the guests that you'll be hearing in the days ahead. And can't wait to share that with you, along with my conversations here at Salt Lake City Comic-Con. I'm going to be talking to Mike Zeck and John Beatty and Joe Rubenstein. So those are going to be great to share with you as well. And if not through the end of September, one or two of those might make it to the beginning of October. But really happy with the amount of great conversation that I've been having lately here at Word Balloon the last few months. And so happy to share them with you. I hope you're enjoying the programs. More to come, as they used to say on The Tonight Show. Until next time, Word Balloon is a copyright feature of Shaky Productions, copyright 2017.